What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Today I'm going to show you a wicked new product that is just about to hit the market. This is the new Ultimate Tint Super High Gloss Air Release Film by Vivid Vinyl. I'm going to show you guys how to install this in great detail today with light smoke and dark smoke on the front and rear tail lights, and show you with the tail lights and headlights on and off so you can see what it looks like. The reason why I'm doing it over the red and the clear, because there are two different, obviously, colors involved. And so things can look a little bit different over a red lens versus a completely transparent lens. Not that this lens is necessarily red. It could be clear with red behind it, but either way, there is red there. If you guys are looking for those super detailed and informative how to vinyl wrap videos, you got to check out my website, ckwraps.com. The link is in the top corner and the description below, where I have an open forum discussion board for you guys to see, comment, ask questions, post pictures, whatever it is that you want to do. I'll answer them every single day and help you through your wrap jobs and business-wise as well. There's a beginner one-on-one section and so forth, and we have over 400 videos there. I even do videos as per request whenever possible. Giving away 1 month free. Don't forget to sign up. Now, I have the film and everything right here. This is the light smoke. Comes in a white box. Kind of makes a lot of sense. These boxes are really nice, actually. Great for storage, so just keeping it put away somewhere very easily. I'm not sure exactly what I got here, if I got 10 feet or 30 feet. I think it feels more like 30 feet. They're quite heavy. There's obviously the two differences. It's easy to tell between the boxes. These are about 4.2 mil thick, microns, not millimeters. Comes with a PET release slider and a stretchable, installable plastic cap. Super important, because that actually reduces almost all scratches from squeegeeing it down with your buffer on your squeegee. You don't need a lot to do this, guys. It's pretty simple. You need a heat gun, you need a squeegee, you need some masking tape, you need a knife and the tints. That's about it. It doesn't take a lot. This is going to be a little bit more challenging to install than most other films. Vivid's previous generations. This is more of a professional line of films. Apparently, like at the apex of headlight, taillight tints, meaning that it's not going to get any better than this. This is as good as it's ever going to get. It's 35% more clear. I have actually never installed what's in that box right there, but I have had a demo piece already to try out. That was a while ago, so I haven't used it in quite a while. We're going to see how it goes. It's also only available on Vivid's website for now, vividvinyl.ca or vividvinyl.com. I'll put the links there for you guys if you want to go pick it up. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but again, it's easy enough to use where you're not going to have to worry about a bubble getting stuck in there or it drying out so that the edges stick down and so forth. This is apparently better than paint protection tints, like paint protection film tints, and anything else, even painting, apparently. We're going to see it right now. I don't know how that's going to go. It has an air release pattern in it. So what I've been told is that the air release pattern will diminish over time and you won't even see it at all. That's actually pretty common in a lot of other films that are opaque when you're doing a color change. A lot of times the air channels will actually fill in with the adhesive and they'll dissipate. So once you remove the wrap, you'll notice that a lot of them have filled in very flat and areas are very smooth. If you ever remove a wrap, you'll see that. Other than that, I mean, the old Vivid tint is still really good. I have it here. I always had it here. I use it all the time. I've been using it for years, but it's time for a change, time for an update. This is also apparently much more durable than any other tint on the market. So meaning that it's going to last. I think you're getting like 3 to 5 years on a horizontal surface, which is pretty crazy. It's actually a really long time. But to be honest, I didn't really have that much of a problem with the last one. I had it on my last car for about 3 years. Yeah, it did fade out a little bit. I didn't even notice, but it did fade out a bit. Otherwise, it removed really nicely, left no glue behind. This is a polymeric, guys. So polymeric, you're gonna have to shrink it down around the light. Let's get right into it. Let's do this. Which side's gonna be light, which side's gonna be dark? We'll do this side as the light smoke, that side as the dark smoke. How about that? I'm gonna roll this out, and I'll roll it out in a second. What we're gonna do is we're gonna prep the light. Now, because of the clarity of the film, it's recommended that you clay bar or even polish. I don't think you really need to polish, but clay barring it would help a lot. especially more so on the front end where, you know, you're gonna have insects and debris that might be more likely to get stuck to the lights. These lights feel pretty smooth to me. They don't feel like they have anything on them, like they feel very smooth. I haven't clay barred them. We're gonna see what it looks like without it. That is a recommendation. I'm using 70% isopropyl alcohol for this. Let's go all the way around. And then we're also going to, I'm just gonna show you the details in a second, guys. I'll move that camera all around for you so you can see everything. But we're gonna use our squeegee and get into those cracks and crevices. So even after washing the vehicle, this is a brand new clean cloth and it's dirty still. It's expected. You don't want to go higher than 70% isopropyl alcohol. It's not a good idea. That can potentially crack the lens, especially on more aftermarket vehicles. You may even, aftermarket lights. You may even want to go lower with aftermarket lights if you know they're aftermarket, maybe 50%. Let's get in those edges, and it's super important that all these edges are very clean. This way the adhesive can stick and seal nicely. Before I even wrap it, I'm going to wipe it off one more time, but that was just sort of a setup. What I'm gonna do now is we're gonna measure it out. I've got a soft tape measure. We know, I mean, just by looking at this, guys, I know that the light is not taller than 16 inches. There aren't many lights I've ever seen in my life that are taller than 16 inches because the roll, you can have 10 feet long, so you can go pretty long. Now, each light here, let's say the entire section combined, is going to be end to end a little over 2 feet. So to do this entire back end, we're looking at a little over 4 feet to do the entire back end. It's pretty good. It's not that much vinyl. And by 16 inches, right? So we're always gonna have 16 inches tall and we're gonna run it lengthwise. So again, let's just to cut this to a more appropriate size because 16 inches is way down here. And when you trim off your scraps, keep the scraps. They're good for like the side mirror lights or indicator lights, the reflectors on the back end right here. Great stuff. People will ask for you to tint those too. And you can use the leftover film to tint that, or you can just do it on your own car. When we tint these, we're gonna be tinting them in 2 separate pieces. So we're not gonna be tinting this light and this light at the same time. If we stretch the film over this gap here, it's going to be a problem. If we cut here, after we've stretched across, the film will want to pull back off of those edges. So we tint each section at a time. It is not easier to actually tint these lights off of the vehicle, regardless of what anybody thinks. It is not easier. My masking tape, which I need, is right over here. Forgot to bring it over, but we're gonna need masking tape. So this is the next step right here. We're gonna mask off the entire edge of the paint side. Super important because we want the film to be able to lift off of that area. So this way it shrinks down and around the light really nicely. These are tricky lights. This one's the trickier one in my opinion. So we're gonna mask that as close to the edge as possible. Just make sure you don't have any tape on your light. Which one do we start with first? It doesn't matter. I'll just start with whatever one. We're gonna get them masked up though. Now, I'm gonna mask both areas right now because there's no point. And we do not need to wrap the tint around the edge very far. It's a complete waste of time. I'm gonna explain why. I'm gonna explain how you're gonna do this and show you how you're gonna do this without having the film pull back or shrink off of the edge or whatever you think might happen or could happen. We're gonna completely avoid that by technique and how we do this. So you can see that masking does take a bit of time, but tinting the lights itself doesn't take much time. You'll see in a second. Let's go. Last piece right there. All right. Still have to do the same to the other side. Maybe I'll just cut that scene out. All right, let's cut one section at a time. Now, the tint is 16 inches. I can probably turn this. I don't even know if it's directional. I don't believe that it is. It shouldn't be. It's a solid color and it's gloss. Why not test it out right now so you guys know? Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this, since it makes more sense, this is 16 inches tall, right? So it makes more sense to cut from here to here and save a little bit of vinyl. This is gonna be a shorter measurement and a wider span. So I might as well take up more of the 16 inches and use that as long as there's no variance or discrepancy in the actual finish or color with this section being turned more than this section over here. Now this section, let's see. I know this is definitely less than 16 inches, so let's just measure that out. That's about 10. And let's see if this one's shorter than 16. If it is, oh, it's close, 17 end to end. If it is, I could have ran the film the other way as well to match it. That's okay. So we're gonna I'll cut this piece out. I'm gonna move this table over slightly, give myself a bit of room. We're gonna cut that piece out at 18 inches, at 17 and give myself an inch extra. And it's so easy to just pull out of the box and measure it up. We've got the backing. I'm gonna show you all of this in 2 seconds. So we've got the backing, let's mark it and cut. The backing shows very easily where to cut. What's nice, this is the light smoke, okay? So what's nice about a PET liner, there's several things here. When we cut the film at the edge here with our blade, it doesn't fray. There's no chance of that happening because it's plastic, it's very solid, it's very stable. Paper on most films can leave dusting, which is like paper particles at the edge, and that can get behind your film if you're not careful or have a very sharp blade. So just something to keep in mind here. This has the protective plastic cap, so I'll show you that right there. You can see that. That's on the film right now. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to make the camera, or put the camera into a better position so you guys can see more what's happening as we get right over here. And I'll explain everything. Now, I like to start probably here and take the film and stretch it around this edge here. Now, this piece is exceptionally tall. I'm going to go a little bit shorter with it. So we're going to trim some off. I'm just sort of marking it by eye. And we're going to go right there about the P. And this will be good for the scrap piece right here. Will be good for the side markers and stuff like that. You know, on the bottom, the reflectors and side markers on the mirrors and all that fun stuff. You don't even necessarily need any soapy solution or anything with this. This should go down really nicely. I like to start, usually I like to start on the harder area. You're going to see a big difference. I'm going to start on the same side over here with this light, but the technique involved in doing this is going to be different, a little bit. Now what I want to do is make sure we've got the film positioned and lined up right there at the corner. I don't need any more than that. What we're going to do now is we're going to flatten out one area like this and make sure that this edge right here has no tension. That's super important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the direction of the film to make sure that it's completely covering the light. As you can see, my film is not straight across. It's sort of on an angle. That's because the light curves around the vehicle. Okay, so we're good here. Let's anchor that down. It's very important for all this to stay down. Let's anchor that down as well. And this still has the tape on it, like when I cut it, but that's going to come off when I remove the cap. It doesn't bother me. You might want to just remove it entirely before you do this. Time for the heat. Don't put your hands behind the area that you're wrapping. What you want to do is keep your hands on the exterior side. So I'm going to add a bit of heat down here just to anchor that corner down. Same thing over here. I'm going to make sure this sort of stays down right there. And then we're going to take this and we're going to heat it. You're going to see that the film's going to move. Watch. I have it very relaxed right now, okay? It's in my hand, but the film is going to move. Okay? It feels nice and soft. I'm not going to pull it yet. I'm going to get myself behind the film. I'm going to take it. I'm going to pull it nice and tight all the way across. Really heavy and swing it around with my right hand and anchor it down right there. I'm going to hold this spot right here. Right here. I'm going to anchor, see how I stuck that to the panel? It's very important. We're going to come through and squeeze some of this out. The air release comes out really nicely. So the air release works really nicely. The air comes out really nicely. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it. Just make sure I've anchored this all the way through to the very ends. Cool. We don't want to move this around too much, just like any other super gloss or ultra gloss film. If we move it around a lot, we have the possibility of getting glue lines. We want to really try to avoid those. Getting glue lines is not ideal. They show up and you'll see them. So now I'm shrinking the film, as you can see that. And that's another great thing about stretching the film across, because now we're actually just shrinking the film down and around the light. Let's go here. A lot of people will have trouble right here at the very top and right here at the very bottom as the light tapers. This is I don't know if I said it already or not, but it's a BMW, obviously 435 or something, Grand Coupe. These are super common lights. I think even the M4 has it. These are not uncommon lights. Okay, so you can see down here I'm starting to bunch up. That's okay. We're gonna squeegee some more of the air out right here on the very flat area. And we usually wanna do that. We wanna squeegee all the air out on the flat areas first. And then now, once we get down here and the film starts to bunch up, we heat it, it shrinks down and around. It's just amazing, right? So let's go work it all the way down to the bottom. And we're at the edge, zero tension. Let's finish up the top right here. I'm gonna lift off the tape right here and right there. I probably don't even need to do anything, really, just squeegee the film down. Just lift that slightly there, there we go, a little bunching. And as I come around the top here, I might start to bunch. That's okay. We're gonna use the heat to shrink the film down because we stretched it already, right? I actually missed some air there, a big bubble, so I just pulled it back really quickly so you can see what I did there. Quick is better, and when the film is cool, not hot. If you pull it back when it's hot, it will leave usually a glue line in it. Okay, so here we've got some bunching. Just heat it, should shrink down and around. If I let it off the tape really nicely, just like that, it's perfect. I'm just gonna hold it slightly tight and finish that up and lifting off of the opposing edge, which means the quarter panel in this case, and getting the film tucked in right up to that edge. I'm gonna finish up the last little bit over here, making sure that the ends right over here are tension free. There are zero wrinkles anywhere on this film, guys. At any edge, anywhere. Now be careful when you are heating with your heat gun. Lights are with dense plastics like this. These are very dense plastics. They're sort of fragile because they're so dense, are likely to crack. So all I'm gonna do now is just gonna heat this edge right here and make sure that I pre-shrink this area as well. So I'm shrinking this area. This way, the film never pulls back off of this edge either. Even though I had no tension here, it's just a safety thing. I have my heat gun set to maximum heat, just in case you're wondering. And we're looking good. You'll see a little circle here. That's a casting point for the actual light. And let's go and peel this cap off before we cut. This is, in my opinion, this is the time to do it. Look, well, this is amazing. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, that is insane glossy. Like, I'll do a comparison video of the older tints versus this one. The old one I've been using for years, guys. Like I said, I never had an issue with it. But this is just way nicer looking. Now we're gonna run our knife on the edge of the light. Not on the side of the paint. We're running it on the edge of the light. You want to be careful when you do this. You don't want to cut into the paint at all. We also don't want to wrap too much film around the light. It's useless. The reason being is that usually the edge of the light on the inside is very thin, and you can't actually adhere the film to anything. So just take your time. You see I'm moving myself into different positions. This helps tremendously. Okay. And I notice that I'm not fully covered at the top, just at the very corner over there. That's why I didn't start at the very end there. I'm just tuck that in a little bit more, just like that. I lift off the tape and I tuck in. Let's go right here. Actually, let's go this way because it's easier for me, even though you guys might not see exactly everything. Okay, so let's come bring this around, and then that piece is done. Let's bring this out this direction. Okay, always pulling the film away from the edge. Right here, we're going to take our knife, run it on the inside, on the edge of the light. Again, this is the light smoke. Another great point to this is that because the film is so much more glossy than the previous generation or other films, the light output is actually better. Okay, so now what we do, guys, is we heat it. And we're gonna make sure, obviously, that there are no wrinkles at any edges. We're gonna finish up any edges that need to be finished up, just using your finger, preferably a glove. So if I actually just throw my glove on, give me 1 second. Your finger will stick a bit. Also, what I like to do first is I like to actually start with the squeegee in most cases. That's a wider gap, but down here, I'll start with the squeegee. So we're gonna add a bit of heat and squeegee that out. Now I have a little bit of air bubble down here. It's gone. That's it, super easy. This is a casting point right here, and this is a casting point right there. I'll show you those in a second. I'll bring this in really closely for you. It doesn't take long to do this. This is all with explanation and everything and showing you guys how to do this. Would have been done a while ago. If you don't feel good with this edge, you can always open the trunk and access it even better with the trunk open. Just don't heat it too much when you are doing the edge. You just want to heat it a little bit at a time and get it around, and then you can heat it more once you get it around. You should be okay. That's incredible gloss. Okay, let's do the other small piece, and then we'll move on to the dark tint side. I'll just do, I guess I have to do both front lights. I was gonna say I'll just do one, but now this one, I'm going to turn the other direction. So just to show you where on the table here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this film the other direction. So the other piece I rolled out 18 inches. This piece, I'm actually gonna be only rolling out, so I'll explain right here how much it's gonna be. About 7 or 8 inches. So somewhere there. Why? Because I know the length here is definitely longer than that light. So 8 inches, I want to go a little bit extra. I'm just always double checking. So it's 7 inches end to end. I think we should go about 9. Right there, perfect. Let's do this other light. This light's the harder light. If you don't know what you're doing. Now the piece is going to be long. Obviously it's 16 inches long. This is too long. And now I'm running this the opposite direction. So if you actually look at the direction of the backing here, you're going to see one goes vertical and one goes horizontal. That's how I ran this light over here. Let's give that a quick wipe off just to make sure that there's no extra debris or contaminants. Cool. Let's have a quick look at it. Again, I didn't even clay bar, and it's mint. I'm gonna leave the extra film on it. I don't even need to take this one off. This is okay. I mean, I could. You know what? Just for the sake of it, let's do it. Cool. Always keep your pieces very rectangular. You don't want them to be funny shapes. Funny shapes make things weird. Now, how do we do this part right here? We're gonna do this. Obviously, we wanna make sure we have enough top to bottom, but we're gonna start right there. The key to this is starting right there. Now, is my angle good? My angle is not good. So let's get down here and give myself a better point of view. Right there, that's better. Great. I can hold on, you can hold on to the release liner if you want to do this. So I have the release liner in my hand, and the critical part right here is getting enough stretch right here and for the film to curl around the bottom as well. But that top section right here at this corner is going to be the hardest part of it. Let's heat it. And let's heat that corner down, let's make that stick, and let's heat that top corner down, make that stick as well. I want them to not move. It's important that these corners stay tight and stay down. If they move, it changes everything. I'm just going to roll off the release liner because I'm not used to doing it like that, but I'm saying that you can leave some of it on. It does help keep the film a little bit more stable. Now, all we're going to do here is stretch more on the inside area. And that's okay, the bottom lifted, but we're okay now. And come around just like that. I don't want to stretch it too far past this edge. We have to be careful. Let's squeegee out the center. If this doesn't work out, we do it again. Doesn't always work out perfectly for me either, guys, just so you know. If we stretch it too far past this edge, when we cut it, it's gonna pull back. We don't want that. It's like really bad. Now, before I do anything else, I know the bottom here is really good. I can see that it's curled around really nicely. So just to show you, if I just heat this here, it's gonna tighten up right around that bottom edge there. I'm just gonna flatten out that one wrinkle right there without pulling hard at all. Just slight bit of heat, slight bit of tension. That should have no wrinkles on it, none. Let's go on the top right here. This is the moment of truth. If we stretch it enough, this has to go back down there, that top corner there. And let's see what happens. So I'm gonna start my heat, because I have stretch in here, I'm gonna start my heat from here and work my way this way. As this tightens up, it will help pull that extra material there tighter. Oops, there we go. Ah, look at that, it's beautiful. Okay, so it's tough, but it worked out really nicely. Again, if you don't pull hard enough there, you're going to have that problem. So again, let's add a little more heat. Let that shrink down a little bit more and get that in there. Beautiful. All right, I have to do a relief cut like here because it's knife there. It's adding tension. It's getting a little bit weird. It's making this feel funny. And let's go all the way up again to that inside edge. Now what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to cut, this is another reason why that tape is there, I'm going to cut a lot of this film away. You can put 2 layers of tape down if you're worried about pushing through the actual tape, or you can put 3 or 4 or 10, doesn't matter. Whatever protects the paint. This is just more just in case I might graze it. Now it's much easier to get the film down and to that top edge with that relief cut there. So let's go here. Great. And we should be good all there. Good, and then before I do anything else, I'm just gonna check this edge here. Make sure I didn't pull it too far past this edge here. So the reason why I'm lifting it right here off of the other light is to check to make sure that it's not gonna wrinkle. If it wrinkles, I have tension pulling past this edge. I have none. That's ideal. Put that corner back down. Okay, so we're good in every sense. In my opinion, we're good everywhere. Yep, no wrinkles anywhere. Let's peel off the protective cap. I'll start on this side, kind of makes more sense. You just kind of scrape it with your nail and go for it. That is a casting point right there. Great. These are super nice. All right. Now let's trim. You could trim afterwards. Like, you could trim before you remove the actual protective cap. You could. I just like to personally do it before. I like to remove the cap before I trim, sorry. That's what I meant by that. Obviously, make sure that we've got the film cut properly here. Good. Let's go around this corner here. And this was the tricky spot over here, right? So I want to make sure that we stretch the film properly. And then we're going to move on to the dark smoke. The headlights are going to be way faster than these ones. They're actually pretty easy in comparison. Good, that should be all of it. Just take your time removing the excess film. Great. Again, we're going to go over the edges with heat and our squeegee just to ensure that everything is super tight and looks really nice. Again, not too much heat, just enough to shrink the film down, give it a little pliability and a little adhesion at those edges. Check that out, it's beautiful. Let's remove some of the tape. This way you can see what this side looks like. Without this ugly tape, right? I like to add a bit of heat, sometimes it doesn't work. Now you get to see what it looks like. That's a really nice gloss. Honestly, for an air release tint, it's not going to get any better than this. I don't think that it can. It has an air release channel in it, so unless the film is opaque, I mean, even color change vinyls have more texture to it than this. And this is translucent. Let's do the other side. So you can see now, light smoke, no smoke at all, or no tint at all. Let's do this side over here. We're going to grab the masking tape. We're going to mask it all off. We're going to wipe it off. We're going to tint these a little bit faster, most likely with a little bit less explanation. But just again, compare them side to side. This way you can see exactly what everything looks like and give you the best idea of which ones you might want for your own car, which ones you want to stock. I mean, I would recommend having both. People will ask for either one. Going this way. People will ask for either one. So some people want it super dark. Some people want it super light or lighter. Again, the light output is going to be better because the film is much more clear. There's nothing obstructing it anymore. It's also going to be just less obvious that it might be tinted for other reasons, but it still gives that nice aggressive look to it. Tinting Lights is probably one of the most sought after modifications for any vehicle. It's like the one that people go to the most. You'll notice I probably have a ton of taillight headlight tint videos on YouTube. Let's wipe this off, and we'll just start with this one. Why not? And again, this is more to just give you a side-by-side, full-blown comparison of what these two shades look like. Again, lights off and lights on. I'll turn the lights on as soon as I finish up this side. Let's get in there around those edges. I'm not even leaving these on, which is unfortunate. I'm not leaving the tint on, but hey, it is what it is. Get in those edges right there. Beautiful. And just one more wipe. So I know that piece was about 9 inches. Let's cut off the actual dark smoke tint at 9 inches. And then bring that over and tint up that piece right there. You can see how much faster this will go now when I do less talking. Let's grab the heat gun and we're ready. All right. Each side of the car is going to be a little bit different. Like when you move from that side to this side and this side to that side, it's going to feel a little bit different. It's just how it is. You can see the difference already. Again, that PET line, I can't even see through the PET and everything. There we go. Trying to trim some off here. And let's do this. I notice also no difference in the color variation on that side. So that's another nice thing about it, is that you can run it any direction. I didn't notice anything at all, unless someone saw it on camera, or maybe I'll see that later when I'm editing. I have no idea, but I didn't see that in person. I haven't taken a great step back yet, but I don't think that there is a variance in the finish. Okay, stick that corner down. Are we straight enough? Yeah, it's not bad. I'm a little low on this, a little high on this side. Let's fix that up one more time. Gotta get down here and give myself a better point of view. That was the main problem, my body positioning. Okay. Let's take the heat, stick the corner down. No, that's not straight enough. We want it a little bit more straight than that. There. And then down here, stick that corner down. Hopefully that one stays down this time, but again, it didn't affect it too much. Now let's just heat it and do this. I want to heat it until the film feels soft and pliable. Okay, the top lifted, that's okay. We're going to take it and we're going to stretch it now. We're going to do this in one shot. As I get to the end here, I'm always spreading the film outwards. Did I do this fine? Yeah, it's probably okay. We just got to get this one wrinkle out right here. That's the bigger one. But I think otherwise, it worked out really well, even though that corner lifted. It's just a little harder for it to stick to the emblem or the lettering than the other side, because the other side didn't have the emblem or lettering right at that edge. Okay, I'm gonna lift right here, watch this. This should shrink down, so we're bunching up, right? It should always shrink down. If it doesn't, you did it wrong. Perfect. Again, my heat gun's always on max, guys. I turn it up to max all the time. This allows the film to respond very quickly once you do heat it. I don't like to sit here and wait forever and ever and ever. I want things to happen, and I'm sure you guys do too, because you don't want to be sitting here watching me heat the film for 30 minutes trying to wait for it to shrink or do its thing. All right, so the only thing that happened here when that corner lifted off was that it caused me a couple more wrinkles. It's kind of an inconvenience, but it's honestly not that bad. Okay, so we're good in all that sense right there. Let's take this and we can go right in. Let's make sure we're being consistent and thorough. There we go. And making sure I'm lifting off of the tape side. Now here, this keeps flipping because this side is pulling this side. It's okay. We're gonna fix that. It's good now. And then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're going to do a relief cut sort of right there. That will help this top section come down a little bit better. And again, no wrinkles, so that's all good. And I believe we're ready to remove the protective cap, so let's do it. I didn't check this edge, I don't need to. I already know it's fine. I'm just showing you guys examples on the other light. And this is the harder light to tint out of them both. Okay, that's the dark smoke. It's definitely dark. Let's trim it. And my blade is just on the edge of that light. Trying to leave very, very minimal amount of film. Around this corner right there. Coming around corners is a little tough sometimes. Just take your time with them. Go slow. Should always be a nice little space. You don't have to put a lot of your knife in there. I have just the tip of the blade in there. Awesome. Again, go over the edges. Nothing should be wrinkling. If you see any type of wrinkle at the edge, it's not a good sign, guys. Got a smudge there, but I'll wipe that off afterwards. The film is also great at self-healing. So swirl marks and small scratches and stuff like that will heal out really nicely. Let's move on to the next light. And then we can have a really good comparison of what these two look like side by side. So let's roll this out 18 inches and cut that. That's right. Go a little bit more right there. Cool. And then we're going to trim off some excess, right? A little hard to see through it, right? But I already kind of know from the last piece how much I'm going to trim off. Something like this. Perfect. I didn't wipe it off again, so let's just kind of go over it. I see stuff, so I think it's just maybe some bits of the tape, paper from the tape. You know, masking tape's not perfect, so let's get that off. Always wipe from one end to the next. It's always better. Great. All right, let's do this side. This side's actually the harder, more difficult side for me. So doing that last light was more challenging for me on this side than it was on the other side. Just the way your hand position goes and stuff like that. As you can see here, I just line up that corner like dead on. I got it in one shot. I've done this a lot, but you know, it just takes a bit of practice. I'm gonna grab my heat gun right here. Oh. Stick that corner down. And this corner down. Cool. Bring that back a bit. There we go. And let's just take off all that. And let's do this. Okay, film feels nice and soft. I think we're pretty much ready right now. Nice and tight with the lower hands, nice and tight with the top hands. Take it, stretch it, and bring it down really nicely. And make sure you end at the end of the light. You don't stretch it past the end of the light. Stretching it past the end of the light is just a bad thing to do. So just to show you or explain what that means with the camera a bit, I didn't stretch it past this edge here. My hands landed right there at that very end. That's important. Squeegee it all the way through the middle area. And what I'll do here is I'll alleviate tension by lifting that up, just like that. Here, same thing. So let's get the air out of here. Anywhere the air, or anywhere where the film is touching on the flattest area, you want to squeegee the air out of there sooner than later. You don't want to wait too long. As we come down around the contour, or the compound curve down here on the bottom of the light, this is where the film will tend to bunch. Okay, so why is that happening? Because the film is flat even when it's pulled tight across. So we have to just shrink it like this, and the film tightens up right along the actual light. It's the whole trick to it. As long as you're not stretching it down or to any of these edges or past any of these edges, this vinyl is not going to fail. No vinyl will. Let's go right over here. There we go. Get the top section to do. Just going to switch spots because I'm right-handed and this makes more sense to me. It's more comfortable. You always want to be comfortable. Okay, so it's gonna do the same thing here and maybe a little bit here. Let's see. Oh, we're fine. We're at the edge without stretching or doing anything funky. Watch here when I cut. I'll cut right through here. And I'm just going to heat the top. And you're going to see that top just shrink down around the top section of the light. Let's cut that off. It's annoying me there. Cool. One thing I want to do is fix up this one little wrinkle right there before I do that. There we go. Because if I heat it like that, it'll probably just wrinkle. So if I let this off of the tape, just like this, you can see this comes off very easily. Let's just heat it and see what happens. Beautiful. It shrinks right down and around. Now it is still sort of sticking to the tape. So if I just let it off of the tape even by hand right now, there we go. You can see it shrinking down even more towards that edge. And then we didn't do anything but just squeegee it down the rest of the way. It's the beauty of it. Got a little dirt here. This is what it is. Again, I'm not leaving it on. Maybe I needed to clay bar it. I don't know. Or maybe it just came out from somewhere. My bad. Either way. All right, let's go over it and over all the edges and everything. Make sure all the air is out. Be thorough. And then we'll be able to cut it, take off the cap, cut it, and see what both sides look like. Lights on and lights off, right? Let's take that cap off. Nice. Check that out. That is super nice. There are some you can see a line in the plastic of the light. I can see how it shapes and how it goes, up here especially. I didn't notice on the other side. No, it's there. Okay, same on the other side. Just the way the light is, and you can't see that really so much when it's just the lens, but once you tint it, yeah, you can see it a little bit more. I mean, it's just styling, I guess. I'm not sure why it's such an indentation, but I mean, it's not that bad. I'm just kind of maybe exaggerating that a bit. But I would prefer it without it. So it's just a flat piece of plastic. Let's cut this all out. Where are we? It might not even be a bad idea to like mask this side once you've tinted it, just FYI. You don't want to ruin the area that you've already tinted, just in case. I mean, I didn't, but just letting you know. Again, you can always take off the cap afterwards. I just like to do it before cutting. This way, at least it's not around the edges, so when I pull the cap off, it doesn't lift an edge. I mean, if you pull the cap off and you've wrapped around the edge, it's possible that you could actually pull the film off of the edge, and that would suck. Okay, let's go over this one and take the tape off. See what they look like with the lights on and lights off, and then we'll move to the front. See, I have it on high heat, but I'm not like that close. And I'm not trying to touch the surface of the area that I just tinted. I want to just stay at the edges. Beauty. How long was that with explanation? That was 45 minutes. That's with prep and everything, and explanation for 4 lights. Take this off. Let's take this one off. The front two, again, are going to be easier, but you'll see those in a moment. And I'll move the camera back to show you what this looks like. It came off nicely. That's great. That's why I like to overlap the tape in a certain way so it comes off really nicely. All right, let's get some of this ugly other stuff out of the way, garbage and stuff, and let's show you what both lights look like from straight behind or directly behind the car. Okay, now we have a view of the light smoke over here and the dark smoke in the Ultimate Tint. You can clearly see there's definitely a difference there. I mean, I'm more of a person that would like something like this, but a lot of people do like the dark smoke. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the lights on the car and show you what this looks like. Now, I have an excessive amount of lighting in my shop. Let me move that camera back a little bit more. Give me 1 second. And so I have an excessive amount of lighting in my shop. Like, it's ridiculous. Outside is not as bright as my shop. Let's turn the lights on. I don't know if this is gonna work like that. Does it work? Nope, gotta turn the ignition. Let's push the ignition. All right. So now we can see with all of this lighting that I have in my shop, what these lights look like. I can go out there and turn off all the lights, and we can do that. I mean, I can do that, but this is like with a lot of lighting, okay? Let's hit the brake lights. Let's hit the brake lights. Is that even working? Yep, I think so. Yep. Cool, let's put an indicator on, or let's put the 4 ways on. And now we can see everything. And brake lights. Okay, so now you can see all that. I mean, it's clearly visible. Like, if you couldn't see this, you'd be pretty blind. I would say that you shouldn't be driving your car on the road. Let's turn off a few lights here. Let's not make it like completely dark, but let's turn off a few lights here. Let's turn off that. Let's turn off this. Let's turn off all those. Let's turn off this one. Maybe let's turn them all off except for like one. Okay, it's getting pretty dark in here. And let's turn off one more light right over here. There we go. It's pretty dark in here. I'll even turn that other light off. I should have just done that when I was here. This way, the only light that's available is right over by the wash bay area. There we go. Now we can see what everything looks like when it's dark. It's almost as dark as it's gonna get. Okay, let's just take it, let's turn them all off. Let's do it. I think that we should just do that too. There we go. Now, obviously the camera is going to adjust a little bit, but you know, if you're driving at nighttime, your eyes are going to adjust too. So is there that much of a difference? I don't really think so. These are still extremely bright and very easy to see. Without the light, even with all of the lights, you can see everything. Okay, so just turn these back on gradually, and you'll see sort of what these start to look like. Obviously, again, the camera is going to start adjusting and doing its thing. I think that's all of them. Oh, just missed one. There we go. That's it. All right, so now we can see everything. Great example for you guys to know and see what these look like when your lights are on. Because people want to see, people want to know, and I know that I've done videos in the past where you guys got a little upset about me not showing what this looked like with the lights on. Now you can see, lights off completely. This is obviously a less in-your-face look versus a more in-your-face look, but definitely a lot darker. Now let's do the front end. So I'm going to just cut out the scene of walking over there, getting set up, and we'll do the front end and show you guys how to do that. Okay guys, we're back and we're at the front end, and we're going to tint these lights up. One light smoke, one dark smoke, using the Vivid Ultra Tint. This side I haven't masked. I did prep them both though. They are both wiped down just to save a little bit of time here. You don't have to sit here and watch me forever. I'm going to explain the areas I'm masking and why I'm masking them, and why I didn't mask some other areas. So this area here on the lower side of the bumper protrudes and sticks out past the light. I want to mask some of this. Same thing with this little piece on the top of the bumper. It sticks out past the light. So I want to mask that. Now, do I need to open the hood? I usually don't. So I'm not going to mask the hood. I'm not going to mask the fender. And that's pretty much it. But I'm going to mask everything else other than this chrome trim also. Let's start right here and just sort of get the tape pretty close to the edge there. Doesn't have to be perfect. So why aren't I masking the hood and the fender? Because the gap is really large and we don't need to. So that's why I'm not doing it. And it also doesn't stick out past the light. Not the area that we're going to need to be tinting anyways, at least. Anything that's underneath there, we don't have to worry about. Now, the light here, since it does sit recessed to the bumper, we do have to tint the bottom of the light here because it's still very visible. While underneath the hood and underneath the fender, it's not visible. So even if you didn't tint underneath there, it wouldn't matter. Either way, I'm going to tint it right to the edge most of the way. But there's no sense in opening the hood up to tint it even further on the inside. This is not for like an open hood visual. All we're trying to do is tint the lights with the hood closed. Nobody drives with their hood open. And even if they were to, let's say, show off their engine bay at a car meet or a car show, the cut will be straight. And as long as the cut is straight, it's not going to be noticeable. The dark tint will be more noticeable. One thing I want to point out here is that I was able to get, I believe, both lights done with one length of cut, with 16 inches. So the roll is 16 inches tall. This is 8 inches right here, end to end. Doesn't look like 8 inches to me, but it sure is. I measured it. So I can get both lights done with one length cut. So I cut the length around 26 inches. The light end to end is about 25. So we don't have to actually use too much more film since we do end up stretching the film. It's not necessary to use that much extra film on the ends. All right, let's go here again. So I'm going to start right inside there at that corner. I'll bring the camera in closer for you guys to see because I know you're probably like, what the hell, I can't see anything. And let's just rest that there for a second. Now these could probably use a polish, just so you're aware. Without a polish, it's going to be more likely that you're going to see imperfections in the actual film or in the light. Or just going to see imperfections in general. Okay, so same as before. We're going to take it. Most of the stretch here that's required is going to be like around this area because we need the film to contour up over the top. So heat that down. Again, no tension here on the very front, zero. Make sure all that stays down really, really good. And I think my angle should be okay. I can always manipulate it a bit if I need to, but I think we're okay. Now, when we pull the film, we're not pulling it straight across. We have to actually follow the shape of the light. If we don't follow the shape of the light, it's not going to work out well for us. And my hand positioning is very important too. Okay, that's probably enough right there. Let's take it, let's pull it nice and tight and try and line up that bottom. Flatter than that. No, that didn't work out so well there, but that's okay. We'll get those out. And then come up right over here. And oops, didn't mean to slip. We want to land at the very end of the light, right up here. That's it. This could have went down better, with meaning less wrinkles, but you know, I'm not perfect all the time when I do this, and neither will you be. So let's pull those flat. Let's find a nice anchor point right through the middle there. I can see some imperfections in it because, again, these lights have some pretty heavy stone chips in them. And right now, because I have very limited film, I have very limited area or place to put my fingers on my hand right now. These wrinkles are great, the ones that are running across, because they're running across the edge. So when we go to heat the film, and the film is going to tighten up at the edge, if we can bring those wrinkles to the edge. I have one right there on the top. Let's fix that one up. I actually pushed down on an accident. I don't think I didn't mean to. But we can just do that without heat, really. Amazing. Now here, I'm going to put a little relief cut right there, because this corner didn't want to stay down. This was pulling it up. Let's go the rest of the way. I have a couple more on the top over here. Make sure that your film stays anchored to the opposite panel. And I just had one wrinkle right there. There we go. It's out. Let's go right here. Get this one out. And again, anytime it begins to bunch as you curl around an area, what you want to do is you want to heat it and let the film shrink. Just be thorough with our squeegee. Make sure we don't leave any air behind. Let's check the top section of it right now. So right here. This should, if I stretched it enough, it should shrink down and around. It's going to fix up right there. There we go. So this should shrink down really nicely on the top side. Let's do it. Yep, okay, so I'm just letting the film off, and it's actually pulling itself underneath the fender, which is crazy, right? That's because we have some really good tension pulling across the light. So now I'm going to lift off of the hood and everything else and make sure that, you know, I'm not forcing the film to an edge. Now here I have to do a relief cut because it just keeps lifting up at this corner here. In 1 second. Just put it back down. There we go. Great. Again, guys, if you're looking for like those super informative, detailed videos on doing this kind of stuff, but like on the whole car, or you just want to ask me some questions and figure out how to wrap your own car, it's all on my website, ckwraps.com. All right, so what I want to do here is I want to bring the film out so it's nice and flat against this edge here, as straight as possible. Then I'm going to run my knife and tuck the rest over down on top of the light. If there is too much film inside of there, I'll just trim it out afterwards. Mainly here, we won't have too much film because I know the light goes in a little bit further. I'm just making sure that everything remains straight. I can actually just leave the protective cap on if you want to see me take it off afterwards, so let's do that. So I like to take it off, but we're going to leave it on. So I'm going to run my knife really straight right here. Checking it out underneath. Let's go here at the very end of the light right here. I'm trying to stay out of your way and do this. A little bit tricky to cut sometimes. Got it. Right there. I think this piece is entirely freed up. Yep. Or not. Just a small piece. There we go. Let's push that back down. Cool. Let's go all the way to there. Let's start my cut now here and work my way towards the hood. Keeping it as straight as possible. And I'll just remove the plastic cap when we're done. I'm going to heat that bottom edge, make sure that's still shrinking down really nicely. It is. Everything's good as far as all that goes. Let's get on this side here. It's easier for me. Poke through. and then blade right along the edge. And let's go all the way at that edge right there. I'm curious to see what it looks like with the cover or the cap off because due to the imperfections that are in the light. So this would be one of those lights where I'd say, hey, polishing it is probably the better option before we actually tint it. This way, when it's all said and done, it's perfectly polished and it's protected and it's tinted just slightly. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go with the dark smoke on the front end, but hey, you know, if you want to be a daredevil and go for it, go ahead. The light output diminishment is not that much, but still, you know, like some people just don't want that. This is over a clear lens, right? So it looks a little bit different than it does in most cases. Now let's go here, let's finish up the edges and stuff. Let's go all the way up the top. You can see all that vinyl just shrinking down around the top edge there. Right there is perfect. I don't have to do anything. It's going to finish that off. Just went down all on its own. It's beautiful. Let's go all here. Cap is still on it. Now, is it going to be glossier than it was? Probably, that's my guess. Before the tint. So let's start in a very inconspicuous area. So another reason why I like to take the cap off first is because I can actually start it on the outside and not the area where I've, you know, that we've actually tinted, right? So it makes kind of more sense to take it off first. But I'm just showing you that you can do it. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Nice and glossy. In comparison to the other side, you'll see it in a second, but I'll zoom out. You can see what it looks like. Okay, so untinted and tinted. I'll do the lights on and lights off for this one too. Let's go to the other side. It's already wiped down and it's already masked. I have the piece already cut right here, so same thing. Let's just tint it up and get this side done. And I'll take the tape off also, don't worry. This side, I'll give you a bit of a different view, like right there. So you can see what's happening right at this corner here. I'm not going to explain too much this time, because a lot of it was already explained on the other side. But again, you're gonna feel a little bit different about tinting one side to the other side because of just how your hands are placed. One's on top, one's on the bottom. If you're right-handed or left-handed. If your dominant hand is right-handed or left. I don't know, honestly, which side of this is easier or harder for me. They kind of both feel the same, I think. Okay, it's starting to feel nice and soft. I think we're good. Let's pull it nice and tight. Let's keep that apart this time if I can. Smoother would be better. It's a little bit smoother. And then right here, guys, we're gonna take this and pull it nice and tight, but just to the end. Look where my thumbs land. I don't pull it past the edge of the light. I pull it to the edge of the light. Okay, so we have less wrinkles this time, which is great. I have a feeling the dark one's gonna look better on the front, but hey, we'll see. I have a bit of slack here. I can see it already, just right there. Just out of your way. Let's pull these ones out. Again, don't add heat when you do this. It's probably better that you don't, especially with the tints. You're more likely to get glue lines if you add heat. Glue lines are like, they sort of look like veins in the adhesive. And it's more common these days now with all these super glosses and ultra glosses with the PET liner, since you can see them a lot more with the PET liner, but still not as bad as some other brands that I know that have had some serious glue lines for years. Okay, so here I'm going to see if this heats and shrinks. It should tighten up. Okay, that's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Let it cool slightly and just keep it flat. And I'm not going to stretch it to the edge. You see what I'm doing? I'm not stretching it to the edge. See how smooth that is? As long as I don't stretch it to the edge, vinyl's not going to fail. You can see this edge is curling upwards, right? That shows you the tension pulling across. Let's go here. So I need the relief cut here again. Same deal as the other side. That allows that corner to drop down really nicely right there and just sit flush again. The only reason why that happened was because I pulled the film so tightly across. Again, let's make this straight. And the top section here, it's already coming down, but we'll just kind of guide it into place. There we go. Perfect. You just want to kind of assist it. Lift off this edge. And again, you always want to be lifting off the edge so you're not forcing it to the edge. If you're forcing it to the edge, just bad news. It's bad news all around for any part of the car. Never force the film to the edge. It's got to be, has to go down the way it wants to go down, as relaxed as possible. Just like that. Let's flatten that up there. Let's finish that up. Cool. So same deal, just to be fair, from one side to the next, I'll cut it and then I'll take off the cap. And then you'll see both. So I think we're good. We're at the edge for everything. You can see how quickly that was. It was pretty easy. Minus the prep, but you saw how long it took to mask one light. After that, it was just wiping it down. And again, you'd want to polish it, especially on the front end here. I see a ton of specks, and it's not dirt. They're just stone chips that are, or maybe even tree sap and insects. It's definitely not dirt coming from anything, but it's other stuff, and other stuff is still not good. This car's not brand new, just one thing to keep in mind. The older it is, the more likely it is to, have these very small imperfections. Okay, and let's go under here. Almost one last cut, I think, and that's it. Right here. Okay, so same thing as always. Heat, shrink it down, make sure nothing's lifting. Seal up your edges. Again, not too much heat because you don't want to crack a lens or melt some plastic or anything crazy like that. But just keep your heat gun moving if you have it on the hottest setting. That's the trick. Let's heat the top section. You're gonna see that drop down there. Perfect. Nice and relaxed. Finish all that up. Tucked way in there. No one's ever gonna see the end of the light until you open the hood up. Just right here, you'll see it. Otherwise, it's good. And again, if we have too much excess, we can always trim it off afterwards. But right now, it looks good. All right. Let's peel off the cap. Yeah, it's a little bit more tricky to do it with trying not to damage the area that you've wrapped already, right? So that's why I like to do it before. Again, I'll say that again. Again, it can also lift your edges up. Okay, there's the gloss for that. These definitely need to be polished. Huge difference from the front to the back, like as far as the smoothness goes, the finish goes. These are just completely littered with junk, and I didn't clay bar it. But, so you can see the difference between the light smoke and the dark smoke again. Now, I'm not going to go to the extent of turning off all the lights again, but I will turn the lights on the car so you can see what this looks like. So let's do that. I move the table out of the way a bit, and let's get those lights turned on. Are they on? Yeah, I think they're on. So now we can see, oh, we can put the indicator lights on, why not? Now we can see what it looks like. Now, a good little feature or good little upsell or whatever you might want to do would be to do the side markers on the actual mirrors. Okay, see how they're obviously, they're clear, but they're amber right now. You're gonna see, someone's gonna see that and be like, oh, why don't you do those? And same thing with the reflectors on the side of the bumper here. For sure tint those, because it's just not gonna look right. It's very orange. I'll give the high beams a flash. I mean, like I said, you're probably not gonna see too much. It's the headlights. Headlights have a ton of light output. I did do another video on this one where, you know, I did that light test, but I didn't really use a, I don't know, lumeter, something like that. Let's just take this off. I think it's called a luminescent meter. And that didn't really give me a really good idea of, you know, what the actual measurement was, but, you know, you could see, you know, for yourself that it really wasn't all that much different. I mean, the camera did do some adjustments on its own, but it wasn't that bad. And in my opinion, in person, I could barely tell. I could see that there was less glare. That was the main thing. So let's just have a quick look at this, and then we're going to have a look at the whole car. All right, so again, you can see the big difference. I'll give you a little walk around here. You can see the big difference between the actual clarity of the imperfections, okay? Tons of imperfections, look at those. I don't know if you guys can see this. You should be able to see them. It's a 4K camera. Tons of imperfections, but this is super glossy. Like, I can't even see an air release pattern in this. I don't even know if you can. I can't see an air release pattern in that. I have you guys, I don't know, that span away right now. Let's go this side. This side you might be able to see a little bit more. I have no idea. Again, you can see imperfections in the lens again. They got to be polished out. I don't see the air release pattern. I mean, I have you guys point blank again, so closer than I am. I'm looking at it from about a foot away. You're looking at it from a little bit, a lot closer. It's the back, right? Super clear. Like, that's super glossy. That's insane. Same thing here. Kind of like an angle. Look at it here. Like, that is a ridiculous reflection. I can see. You can probably read my shirt, or you can read the 4K on the camera on that piece right there. That's nuts. That's wild. Looks really good. And that's how you do it, guys. That's just like tinting some lights in the new Tint in light and dark smoke, showing you with the lights on and the lights off. Been wanting to do a video like this for a long time. I purposely went out and got this car. It's popular, BMW lights, you know, they're pretty popular. They're not the easiest, they're not the hardest. They do get a lot easier. They also do get a lot more difficult to wrap as well. I have more difficult light tint videos on my website. So again, if you guys are looking for more information on how to wrap and how to tint and all that kind of stuff, do PPF, all on my website, ckWraps.com. I hope you found that this video was informative, detailed, and helpful in showing you this new product, how to install it, what it's all about, and you can choose for yourself. I will do later on a different video on showing the older Vivid tints versus the new Ultra tint and showing the difference between the two. The older version is easier to install with the sense that you're not going to get glue lines as easily as you will with this, more or less. That's the reason. Otherwise, still super easy. I pretty much installed it the same way I've been installing anything else as far as tint goes. Went down really nicely. It's going to last. It's going to be perfect. We can tell because all those edges are nice and relaxed. There are no wrinkles, no pullback, no nothing. We know that because we checked before we cut with heat, we checked after we cut, and we sealed all the edges up, and it was all in the direction on how we pulled the film across the light and the technique in doing that. Guys, I look forward to doing more videos for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.